All right, ladies and gentlemen, it was already going to be an interesting week in the stock market. We were going to hear from Jerome Powell, get economic data, and have the kickoff to earnings. But now there is the impending port strike by Tuesday. And depending on how that plays out, it may have some big effects for the stock market. So before I get into the keys, the plays, all of that good stuff, what I want to do is go over this port strike and give you a quick rundown. If you're not familiar, there can be some very big effects. So I pulled this from another YouTube channel. This is the channel What is Going On with Shipping. Here's the charts for like imports and exports, and I'm going to explain a little bit of it, and I want to give you guys a recap because I don't see a lot of people in the market talking about this. We brought it up last week, but now as we get into it Monday and Tuesday, it's going to get interesting. So like I said, this is what's going on with shipping. This is YouTube channel, but check out this clip. This is the guy, the head of the ILA union, who is overseeing the negotiation. So yeah, here, right now. All right, tell me. What happened?
First week.
Okay.
All over the news every night. Boom,
I listen to it speed up.
Guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the companies money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. In today's world, I'll cripple you.
Yeah.
I will cripple you.
Yeah, so that right there, I like his chain. He seems like a very serious individual, and here again are the charts of what this could all affect. But even that last part, because I was even bringing up to you guys how the president did say they were not going to get involved, and then they're like, okay, maybe we might. And if you guys remember what happened with Canada a month ago, that could have been a very, very big deal, but then their government stepped in within 24 hours. But he's even addressing it, saying even if you stepped in, Taft-Hartley Act, and give us that cool down, we're still not going to work. So there's a lot of things at play. I wanted to make sure people know about this because, one, this could affect all sorts of both different plays as well as just like commodities and oil. And remember what we went through last week, there was a lot going on. But if you don't know what is happening, it's either two big things. One, it could lead to a lot of negative inflation, kind of how he was explaining, but also like I'm putting here, if we do get this resolved by this week and it ends up now becoming a non-event, this may go from a negative to a positive and be a tailwind as we get an agreement. But if you're not familiar with what's going on by Tuesday, if they do not come to an agreement over 36 ports on the East Coast, it's like 45,000 workers. Some people, I've read some reports saying potentially up to 85,000, but I put a question mark on that. But essentially, you will have a majority of the East Coast on strike at the ports, and they will not be working. And why that's a big deal is because 60% of all shipping in the United States, it is coming through these ports. So is this going to mean you get absolutely nothing? No, just things are going to take a long time. You're going to have to route things through either Mexico and Canada, or instead of shipping to the East Coast, you got to go all the way around the Panama Canal and then ship it down to the West Coast. So people are estimating anywhere from $4.5 billion to $7.5 billion a week if this occurs, and it would be the first strike since 1976. 2027. And now the ironic part about all of this is that it's a big deal, and you would think there's a lot of complexities, but there's not. It's all overpay. So the background and why they do this, it's like pretty much like every 8 years or so, or 6 years, they do these negotiations. Last time was in 2018, and apparently they made a lot of money during COVID, and that's even what that guy was saying, like, hey, we just want our fair share of it. Fair share. But the whole idea here, like where the drama is, it's all overpay. There's nothing else. It's not benefits or any other complexity. The companies and the unions are saying they want a 70% raise where they're only supposed to get like 30, and now that's what they're trying to figure out. So this could either be something here today, gone tomorrow. Maybe we have an impact for a couple of weeks, or if this really turns into a strike and then government and then cool down and then everybody's not all playing along, this will be something that will definitely come into 2025, especially after we have just embarked on one of the biggest rate cutting cycles ever. So, Chad, we got a lot to talk about. I hope that educates you on the matter. I hope you're ready for it. But now, everything that happened last week in the markets, man, we have a lot to talk about with policy. We got to talk about China, the earnings. I have the plays, all that good stuff. What I need from you, a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/The Stock Market. We will see you there in the morning, baby. Run it.
Working to the couch, it's the 2020 election. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Feel how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
Right off the bat, as far as what we're getting into this week, like I was saying, besides the port strike, you're going to have a lot of things to deal with. We're going to be hearing from Jerome Powell tomorrow. There's a conference in Tennessee. I don't think it's going to be pre-recorded, and if you guys remember last week, everybody got hyped up over Powell, and then he ended up saying nothing about the economy. Then everybody moved on from that. I actually think we may actually get a Q&A out of him here, so be on the lookout for that on Monday. But then Thursday, you will be getting the ISM, and even though we will be getting non-farms on Friday, don't forget the ISM and the ISM manufacturing. If you guys recall, over the last 2 months, that is where we got some of those big moves. Remember, I gave you that call out on the watch list. It was like a month ago, and I said, watch, ISM might be the snitch, and sure enough, it was. We may very well see that happen again, so you're going to be getting that data on Thursday. I would arguably say that will be the biggest set of data. Otherwise, everybody's going to be looking at the non-farms. There was other jobs data, and remember, GDP last week, and the market loved it, so we may not have things get in our way, but for the most part, if the non-farms and ISM tell a different story than soft landing and rate cuts, we could get a lot of volatility. Otherwise, things may start chugging along, and we got to talk about seasonality and a lot of things. It's going to come up here on the later key, but fact of the matter is we're almost done with September, and there has been a lot of things that have happened. And even as we approach the end of the year, now that you've gotten all these rate cuts and then the China stimulus, everybody is feeling very good. So we'll see how that all feeds into it. Then the only other final event for this week, it's going to be earnings, but I put here kind of not really, because all you're going to be doing is getting Nike earnings. There's like RPM or some other company, I forgot that one, getting a buyout, not rent, no kill. And then I think Levi's. So not much this week. I think you even burn another one. And then before you know it, though, you will be hearing from JP Morgan, Netflix, and then all of the bigger names. But you still got a lot of time, so don't force it, and we'll see where the market takes us. So watch out for that. That's the first key. The second key, it's everything I already told you here. This port strike, we just got to monitor. I'm sure we'll be talking about it a little bit more tomorrow, depending on how it plays out. But it is something where I don't think you could overlook it, and just quite simply, if the government steps in, then I would prepare to punt. Otherwise, if you actually get the strike and it happens, then I would be on the lookout for all the negative effects and then all the other people that it could affect in terms of plays. So that's key number 2. And then finally, we got to talk about how we got here and what happened last week. So there's a lot of things floating around, and hopefully you understand what you are coming off of. Last week, you had major China stimulus, and then it was your first full week following the outsized rate cut from the Fed, and then you had the ECB, the UK. We even had the Swiss National Bank last week, and then before that, you also had the Bank of Japan. All of these things have been happening, and even then, on Friday and last week, everybody was asking about the China stimulus, but let me put it another way. This is what I want you guys to realize. I'm going to skip ahead, but you have to understand this has literally been the biggest month of easing for central banks since April of 2020. So let me get you your pretty picture here. But essentially, remember, September is one of the worst months. Last time we had a good month in September was 2019. Other than that, even in the last 10, 20 years, September is usually bad. And you're probably looking now and it's like, wow, September has been amazing. You should take a look at the long term. But here's the deal. You have actually had more central banks cutting than the peak of COVID, and then getting back into the 08s and then the 2001. So it's very interesting, the dynamic that we've had here. But the whole idea is everybody around the world has been doing easing. Again, this chart, this also factors in China. Not only did you have to deal with United States and everybody else, but now China and that stimulus, that brings up a lot of concerns, and it also lets you know what's going on here. But now the main question moving forward, the data needs to give you your soft landing, but a lot of people are going to start asking, what happens if this stuff doesn't work? So mainly that's going to go for China. What happens if China now does what they did last week and they keep stimulating and then this fails? Wow, we might have a bigger risk at hand than in the global economy. And then same thing, even all the other economies, the UK, the EU, Germany, United States, if we start doing all this stuff and we get inflation or we have a big economic decline in a recession, people are going to start asking some questions about this bazooka that we just unleashed. So till then, the markets are loving it. I mean, there is the phrase that when the markets or central banks are panicking, you love it. Some could argue that now, but for the most part, we are definitely going through a cutting cycle. That's what we got to experience this month. We'll see where it takes us into the next couple of months. But like I've been saying all last week, I think it's too early to tell, and we'll see what the data brings us. But now, let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, I have a couple of different plays, and like I'm saying here, all of this stuff with the stimulus, China, I think is going to be very important. So, I'm going to start with the first one. I don't know if this highlights how I feel as much, because I already have other exposure in the long term. We even made some other options last week as well. And then quite frankly, a lot of things have already run, but this China stimulus stuff, if it has legs, it is going to be important. And then just go look anytime, even April 2020, any other moment we saw global stimulus and China stimulated in 8 months, 12 months, it usually was extremely bullish. So you got to have kind of a decent time frame. We might even get some of the short-term volatility. But that being said, I would watch a lot of the China plays, but I'm going to be watching ALB and commodities this week. I made a play on ALB. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But in general, if China does start waking up and things start getting better there, I do think that the commodities should be a winner. So I would watch all those China plays in general. We'll see if we could get a week number 2 with all of that. Otherwise, if it does cool down, like I'm saying here, I would keep your eyes out for a couple months down the line, because if things go well post-election and China is still cheap and the stimulus works, a lot of people are going to be liking that. So watch out for that. That is play number 1. Then play number 2, my friend. Oh, wait, they're bunched up, but play number 2, this one also is related to China, but wins. So this thing has already moved a ton. I really actually don't like it when I look at the chart, because if you have traded win in the past, you know this thing could absolutely die. But just like Baba and even Baidu, this thing was just at $75 the other day. Now it's at $97. So that has been a massive move. But here's the reason why. One, it's part of China. They get to benefit off the China consumer and China stimulus, but also the United Arab Emirates. So people are saying that there's a big wave there, and Morgan Stanley and a bunch of other analysts, they gave them some huge upgrades, and they're saying that Win is going to benefit off of that and China. So if we do get more of the China play, and that does have those feedback into some of these plays that benefit off the China consumer, I would definitely watch out for Win. Only problem is it is really expensive. So watch out for that. That is play number 2. And play number 3. And the final play, you should have known by now, Nike. So earnings. This is going to be on Tuesday. I already have my old play. If you guys remember, I grabbed it about a week ago. I did the October 18th. I have a $60 put in a 105 call. I think the $60 puts, they got clapped, and then the 105 calls, they went up 100%, but they're going to have earnings, and I think Nike is going to be very pivotal. So without a doubt, I do think this will be a very pivotal earning for them, not only because it could tell you about the consumer and how people reacted last time, and honestly, after rate cuts, I'm sure a lot of people are going to overread into Nike's earnings depending on what they do, but it is like right back up to that level of their other earnings. They just got the new CEO, so they're going to have to either confirm or deny things are getting better or things are getting worse. So they've already moved like $20 up from the bottom, but I'm like, man, with everything riding on this earnings, I really think this thing could go lower than 72 and then even higher than like 110 if all goes well. So we will see what happens, but I already told you my plays. Those October ones, I don't think I'm going to add to them. If I can make the puts free, I might do that. The calls, I can make them free, but maybe we push them a little bit and see how they go moving into all of this. So other than that, those are the main plays. And as far as the other plays that I made on Friday, all I did was the Albemarle play. This was my commodity lithium play, but I grabbed the January 230s. I grabbed 10 of them. These are further out the money. I've been going for midterm of time with cheaper price just in case it goes crazy. And why? Because I don't want to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars of closer to the money contracts and then we buy the top tick and then it comes down and then you could go buy them cheaper. So only putting in like $150 if they hit kind of like the Baidus from last week, then all is well. Otherwise, if not, we'll be able to get a better play for cheaper. So starting off with these, and then the only other play that I made was I sold 1 out of 3 of the Baidus from last week. So we bought that after all of the first set of China news. That kept going. They went up like 300-400%. So was able to sell 1 and make all of them free. And now we have a free play on Baidu all the way into January. So other than that, no other plays, but like I said, I'm going to be watching a lot of China plays, going to be keeping my eye out too for anything related to the earnings, but then data like the ISM, I think that could bring back a lot of the different plays, bonds, yen, gold, all of that stuff, and then yeah, China back to oil. We'll see where we land from all of that, but Chad, I hope you're locked and loaded, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And I need you to remember, baby, it only takes a 10%, the bare minimum. You start with something small. They say the small rivers turn into the lake. Did I get it right this time or no? Small lake. Okay, I did. But Chad, I love you. Drink that water. Stay hydrated, healthy. I'll see you in the morning. And horn.